Eva Mitchell's footsteps echoed softly against the polished marble floors of the luxury penthouse. Clad in a simple uniform, her presence was almost swallowed by the grandeur of the place, a world of wealth she navigated with quiet diligence each day. The penthouse was perched high above the bustling city, each room adorned with lavish decor and modern art that whispered affluence. She moved with practiced efficiency, knowing each corner, each delicate piece she'd been tasked with maintaining. The tenants and guests, dressed impeccably in crisp clothes and soft leather shoes, drifted through conversations marked by laughter and clinking glasses, paying Eva little mind as she went about her work. All was routine until the sudden intrusion of customs officials shattered the morning calm. Their presence was like a chill wind, bringing everything to a halt. Eva watched in bewilderment as they methodically started their search. The room tensed as the officials rifled through the penthouse's elegant confines until one of them unsealed the vacuum cleaner's dust bag. The discovery came as a shock: diamonds, glittering arrestingly against the mundane backdrop of dust and lint. The CEO's assistant was quick to pounce, pointing a finger at Eva with the assurance only privilege could muster. It must have been her, they declared, eyes cold and unwavering. A murmur of agreement seemed to pass through the small crowd, judgmental glances flickered toward the unsuspecting Eva. No one cared to question the glaring inconsistency, and in an instant, Eva found herself fired. The security personnel, with curt apologies, escorted her to the elevator, her protestations swallowed by the indifference around her. As she stepped out of the penthouse, her spirit was crushed but remained certain of her innocence. With head bowed low, Eva exited the grand building, her heart burdened with unjust humiliation. Eva Mitchell barely made it through the door of her small apartment before tears overwhelmed her. She sank into the worn couch, the weight of the day pressing down on her shoulders like a heavy shroud. Her hands trembled slightly as she replayed the events over in her mind, a whirlwind of disbelief, anger, and humiliation. The memory of the accusation stung fiercely. It was not just the loss of her job, but the stripping away of dignity and trust in one sweeping, unfounded judgment. For hours, she sat there, the numb shock giving way to a crushing despair. The scattered toys and the small pile of bills on the table seemed to mock her precarious position. Her livelihood was in jeopardy, and the thought of explaining this unexpected turn of events to her family weighed heavily on her conscience. Sleep eluded her that night, and when morning arrived, Eva found the strength to pick up the pieces. She attempted to call other cleaning agencies, hoping her reputation wasn't already tainted beyond repair. Yet every phone call ended with terse apologies and closed doors. Her mind spiraled with worry. What if this accusation followed her like a shadow, forever barring her from gainful employment? Scenes from her past flickered to life, vivid and sharp. She saw herself as a young, vibrant student, dedicated and eager, with plans to study gemology, a passion she cherished deeply. But when her mother fell ill, Eva's dreams were sidelined. She left her studies, exchanging a promising future in gemstones for the immediacy of nursing an ailing soul. It hadn't been a choice she regretted, but the sacrifices had been real and long-lasting. Her mother's recovery had been slow, but the need for financial stability was pressing. Cleaning jobs, often looked upon as menial, proved to be a lifeline that allowed her to support their modest lifestyle while clinging to her dignity. The penthouse job had been a rare stroke of luck, a contract that paid decently and added a sliver of respect to her standing. Now, the seeming absurdity of the circumstances only reflected how much she had struggled to climb out of that niche, only to fall even lower. Days wore on, fraught with anxiety. Eva's appetite waned, she could only pick at her meals, her thoughts too preoccupied with the future's uncertainty. The smallest tasks became monumental. Her mind grappled constantly with elements beyond her control, reeling from the injustice of her situation. One evening, as moonlight threaded through her curtains, Eva found herself sifting through old photo albums. Pictures chronicled a life once promising, now halted, an abrupt halt she'd once thought turned around. Her mother, vibrant then and still resilient now, owed so much to her sacrifices, which made failure less of an option and more of a forbidden indulgence. Every image of herself, smiling with friends at school or tending dutifully to her mother, seemed to whisper a reminder of the strength and resolve she had always carried. It was in these moments of reflection that resilience began to kindle within her, lighting the pathways of logic through the fog of emotion. Piece by piece, her frustration transmuted into steely resolve. Eva's resolve crystallized around one unwavering belief: she was innocent. She did not smuggle diamonds in a vacuum. The doubts and whispers cast upon her name fed a renewed determination to restore her integrity. In the soft solitude of her home, she made a silent vow to clear her name, not just for herself but for the life she'd worked relentlessly to build. Flashbacks intertwined with present thoughts, centering around key moments: how she had meticulously arranged her tools that morning, ensuring nothing was left amiss in her cleaning apparatus. She clearly recalled the vacuum bag sealed new, untouched by hands save for her careful inspection. These recollections bolstered her confidence that the truth lay not within her actions, but elsewhere, needlessly scapegoated by others with their own secrets to hide. Eva allowed herself a brief indulgence, a wistful smile sparked by a memory of her childhood. Her mother teaching her to be both observant and curious, her gemologist aspirations once nurtured through backyard explorations. These rudimentary sessions in amateur geology cultivated the mental acuity now guiding her determination. Her mind, sharp and methodical, turned over the day's events meticulously, like evaluating a gemstone from all angles. Fueled by this recollection of her own strengths, she decided to retrace her steps from that day in the penthouse. Though she knew the challenge ahead was daunting, a single truth remained: she had to fight for what was right, to regain the dignity that had been unjustly stripped from her. Empowered by her resolve, Eva drafted a plan, sketched on a notepad like designs once illustrating her gemological studies. The senses of injustice and hope battled within her, but her determination to unveil the truth would be unwavering. Convinced of her strategy, Eva wrote a letter to the cleaning agency detailing the inconsistencies she remembered, hoping they would at least initiate an informal review. Yet she couldn't hang her hopes there alone. She knew she would need to do more, and resolved to visit the building herself the following day under the guise of collecting personal belongings left behind. There had to be someone willing to listen, someone who still believed in the decency that underscored her actions. Eva's transformation from downtrodden despair to steely resolve was not merely a shift of perception, but a reclamation of her identity. As the dawn light crept over her modest living space, washing everything in muted grays and hopeful golds, she prepared to face whatever came next, emboldened by the narrative she had always known deep within her heart. The morning sun cast long, hopeful rays across Eva Mitchell's modest apartment as she sipped her coffee, her mind a whirl of recollections and plans. Determined to keep her promise to herself, she dressed in her most confident attire, a stark contrast to the simple uniforms she usually wore, and prepared to return to the scene of her humiliation. The city bustled around her as she navigated the streets towards the luxury penthouse. Doubts crept in along the way, whispering fears of futility and further embarrassment. Yet, Eva held on to the thread of clarity that had emerged in those sleepless nights. Arriving at the building under the pretense of retrieving forgotten cleaning supplies, she greeted the familiar faces of the building staff with polite smiles, masking her inner turmoil. Her first stop was the building's concierge, a kindly man named Frank who had always treated her with respect. Surrounded by sleek panels and a professional demeanor, Frank greeted her warmly. Sensing a note of concern in her eyes, he tilted his head, inviting her confidence. "Everything all right, Eva?" he asked, his voice laden with genuine care. Taking a deep breath, Eva explained the situation briefly, careful not to let anger overtake her words. "I need to talk to Dylan, the head of security. There was something odd about that day, and I need to understand." Frank nodded, understanding etched in the lines of his face. "Go on," he encouraged softly, directing her towards the basement where the security offices were located. Dylan was a reserved man, a veteran of managing the elite building's safety. He listened as Eva laid out her recollection, his brow furrowing as the details pieced themselves together. "I do remember customs being here," he admitted, recalling that unexpectedly tense morning. "You're saying you didn't touch the vacuum before that day?" "Yes," she affirmed, her voice steady with conviction. "The bag was fresh and sealed. I don't know how those diamonds got in there, but I do know it wasn't me." Silence reigned for a moment as Dylan considered her words. His eyes sought hers then, measuring the sincerity in her gaze. "We do have surveillance cameras in all major halls and service entries," he offered. "If there's anything worth reviewing, it could clear up some questions." Eva's heart swelled with cautious hope. Together, they sifted through hours of footage from that day, fast-forwarding past idle moments, searching for discrepancies or unusual behavior. It felt as though time itself dragged, each frame flickering by like days instead of seconds. Finally, a snippet caught Dylan's attention, a recording of someone leaving the Penthouse suite's cleaning room with a small, nondescript package before Eva had even started her shift. The figure, unmistakably the CEO himself, carried the package quickly, depositing it near where the vacuum was stored. Eva's heart raced. Here was a direct link, a clarity she had clung to but had not dared fully hope would manifest with such blatant evidence. The CEO's implication was clear: he was hiding something. Under Dylan's guidance, they continued examining the footage, linking pieces of the puzzle together. There was more. Recorded clips showed bustling activity surrounding the CEO's safe that morning, moments prior to Customs' unexpected arrival. It all pointed towards an orchestrated diversion, a scene set for Eva to unwittingly step into. As evidence mounted, Eva felt a swell of emotions: vindication, anger, but most importantly, a tangible relief that she wasn't alone in her knowledge anymore. Dylan printed the critical frames for her, quiet solidarity imparted in the gesture. "I'll do what I can to help, Eva," he pledged, his voice a steady anchor. "This building runs on trust too, you know." With the images in her hands, the tides had turned. The mountainous task of clearing her tarnished reputation felt conquerable. Yet, Eva knew that convincing the world outside of these walls could prove challenging. She needed a strategic plan to ensure the truth didn't get buried again beneath layers of power and influence. Strengthened by Dylan's support, Eva thanked him sincerely, expressing her gratitude not just for his help, but for listening, an act that had begun to restore her dwindling faith in humanity. She departed the Penthouse with a growing sense of purpose, her steps quick and decisive. Emerging into the bustling city once more, she clutched the evidence like a lifeline. Each instance captured in those images were not just simple misunderstandings, they were life-altering intersections of deceit and innocence. Her courage had bled for this, and now she was armed to reclaim her standing. On her way back, a plan formed in her mind, one that involved confronting the very hierarchy that had so easily discarded her. She would take what she knew to those who could no longer ignore her. But in doing so, she also weighed the risk. Bringing attention to the CEO's misdeeds could unleash retaliation, or worse, attempts to silence her once again. That night, with the day's findings tangible in her hands, Eva prepared herself mentally and physically for the challenge ahead. This was not just about clearing her own name, it was a stand for every worker who had ever been underestimated, every soul whose truth had been overshadowed by those who thought their names carried more weight. Determined, Eva felt resolve hardened to steel within her. Tomorrow, when she would once again face those who had wronged her, she would not stand there meekly. Amplified by the promise of truth, she would present the undeniable evidence and force the reckoning she deserved, illuminating not just her own struggle for integrity, but the pervasive fault lines in the morality among those who believed themselves untouchable. Eva spent the night combing through the evidence with a discerning eye, careful to construct a narrative that couldn't be easily dismissed. She knew that the nature of her discoveries deserved more than just hushed whispers, they needed to be presented with authority and indisputable clarity. With each passing hour, her resolve only grew stronger, fueled by a steadfast belief in the power of truth to reclaim what wrongful accusation had taken from her. In a carefully pressed outfit and with her notes and evidence meticulously organized in a leather folder, Eva set out to the luxury penthouse one more time. Her course was clear. she intended to confront the deception where it had manifested so brazenly. She understood that the drawing room beyond the main lounge, typically reserved for elite gatherings, would be the stage for an exclusive cocktail event that evening, attended by influential figures and potential allies. True to her intentions, Eva arrived at the penthouse without the guise of retrieval, no pretense or apprehension masking her intent. The guests milled around, cloisters of power and influence simmering their usual undercurrents in crisp conversation. The CEO was poised within his domain, exuding a confidence enshrined by the sphere of affluence and luxury that surrounded him. It was Dylan who greeted her at the entrance, a comforting presence in the midst of the grandeur that reigned. "You sure about this?" he inquired, concern lining his otherwise impassive features. "Yes," Eva affirmed, her voice betraying none of the apprehension that fluttered in her chest. "With your help, it'll be more than hearsay. Ready?" Dylan nodded, the camaraderie implicit and supportive. Together, they made their way into the heart of the gathering, a room laden with chatter and clinking glasses. Eva paused a moment to collect herself, scanning the room before making her approach towards the unsuspecting host. Stepping forward, Eva cleared her throat, her voice slicing through the cordial clamor. "Excuse me, everyone," she began, projecting her words with calm authority. The room gradually hushed, conversations ebbing as curiosity peaked. "I must address a matter that affects not only myself but everyone invested in truth and integrity within these walls." The CEO's gaze landed on her, initial annoyance giving way to feigned composure. He attempted to maintain his facade, yet something akin to apprehension sparked behind his eyes. "Is there an issue, Miss Mitchell?" he queried, his tones laced with manufactured civility. "Yes, indeed there is," Eva replied, opening the leather folder with deliberate precision. 2 weeks ago, I was wrongly accused of smuggling diamonds while diligently cleaning your esteemed residence." The tension in the room grew tangible, guests trading puzzled glances, feeling the swell of a brewing revelation. "As an employee dismissed unjustly, I've taken it upon myself to uncover the deception behind this false claim and bring the truth to light." With that, she gestured to Dylan, positioned by an unobtrusive display screen on the far wall. Clicking deftly through images, he began displaying the surveillance stills, each frame an undeniable narrative of the CEO's complicity. The room watched with rapt attention as the sequence of events unfolded on screen, the stark truth rooted in incriminating clarity. Murmurs arose in waves, guests digesting the visual evidence, their interest now a crescendo of whispers and intense scrutiny. Understanding crystallized throughout as gasps punctuated the trickle of revelations expanding into loud disbelief. The CEO's calm demeanor shattered visibly, his features tightening as if struggling to find purchase in the turbulence that threatened his composure. He faltered, words lost amidst the brewing storm, each frame a chisel against the veneer of innocence he had paraded so long. "What you see," Eva continued calmly, "is not just a testament to my innocence, but an exposé of orchestrated deceit intended to mask the true scheme of diamond relocation." Questions peppered the room, targeted and specific, a delighted synergy in pursuit of transparency and justice anew. "Why?" followed, "How could this happen?" as the CEO attempted rebuttal, his explanations crumbling under their own weight. Understanding now inescapable, the room's allegiance shifted like sand underfoot, loyalty replaced by the pursuit of accountability aimed at those who dared manipulate perception to shield guilt. Where once had been murmurs of reproach directed at Eva, the crowd now murmured anger and disappointment aimed squarely at the CEO. The reveal was invigorating, a tide of righteousness sweeping the gathered individuals as they factored the deeper implications of Eva's revelations. The guests, now spectators and jurors alike, demanded explanations that remained woefully unsatisfactory, each response ensnared by the tightening jaws of truth Eva had unshackled. In that pivotal sphere, Eva transcended her previous stature as a mere cleaner. She became a guardian of honesty and emblem of courage against the crushing weight of facile judgments. The room, once indifferent, now regarded her not as an outsider but as one whose narrative wielded the unyielding strength of legitimacy. The event dovetailed into a whirlwind of shifted allegiances, whispers transitioning into vociferous cheers for justice. Confronted with evidence and no retreat, the CEO found his empire of lies dissolving beneath him, a kingdom rapidly becoming ruin. As voices continued to whirl and truth lay bare, Eva felt a swelling pride savoring her vindication. This moment, tempestuous yet serene, affirmed the resilience that had fueled her fight for integrity. Amid the chaos of revelation, she held her ground, grounded in the truth she'd fought to unveil. Emerged from beneath judgment's shadow, in that storied penthouse, amidst voices swollen with discovery, Eva Mitchell stood unquiet, afire with justice, knowing she had truly turned the tables. The room hummed with a newfound energy, electric with the realization that justice, so long eclipsed by power and presumption, had been restored. The CEO, once a towering figure within his gilded realm, now appeared small, as the full weight of Eva's revelations settled upon him. His attempts at deflection fell flat, each word floundering against the solid wall of truth that Eva's evidence had constructed. As the guests whispered and speculated, finding certainty amidst the chaos of reputations unwinding, the CEO's final thread of dignity snapped. Faces that had once greeted him with nods of respect now turned away, disapproval etched across their distinguished features. It was not an immediate frenzy, not an uproar of anger, but a significant shift, an unspoken expulsion from the echelons in which he had so comfortably resided. Within moments, the quiet storm of realization turned to action. Security, once dismissive of Eva's claims, now stepped forward under the directive of the attendees. A formal investigation was proposed, spearheaded by figures who recognized the gravity of Eva's claims. The truth had not only been revealed but had ignited a demand for accountability that could not be silenced. In the eye of this storm, Eva stood resolute, the center of a narrative spun with threads of triumph, her presence a beacon of unassuming integrity in a room long shrouded in duplicity. Her gaze never wavered as she regarded the CEO, whose facade of superiority had crumbled amidst the remnants of his shattered deceit. Before the evening concluded, the murmurs transitioned to formalities, a public apology drafted, the details handled with the precision such an event required. Eva was offered tangible justice, a poignant statement from the elite acknowledging her innocence and extending her reinstatement, complete with an elevated position within the building's hierarchy. But Eva, with an unwavering sense of self-respect, gently refused the return under the terms of former subservience. Her journey had led her beyond mere recompense, it had realigned her path towards new opportunities and personal vindication. Amidst the assembly, a distinguished guest approached, a woman known within the highest circles for her influence and independence. Her offer, extended with an appreciation for Eva's undaunted courage, was as unexpected as it was groundbreaking, a supervisory role overseeing the management of several elite properties within the city, inclusive of benefits and a prestigious standing Eva once believed unattainable. Humbled by the recognition, Eva accepted the offer with poised gratitude, aware that such acknowledgement arose not just from happenstance, but from her relentless pursuit of what was right. Meanwhile, the cleaning agency, eyes open to their misjudgment, hurriedly sought reconciliation. Their remorse became evident through actions, not just words, as they offered Eva sincere apologies, eager to brave association with her unfolding narrative of redemption and victory. Yet here, in the aftermath of wrongdoing transformed into rightful triumph, Eva understood her destiny lay elsewhere, free from the shadow of previous scorn and ripe for new beginnings. Politely deflecting the agency's gestures, she gracefully drew forth the boundaries of her new direction. The reputation Eva salvaged this night extended beyond a mere clearing of her name. It nourished a renewed faith in the strength of truth and the resilience of human spirit when faced with adversity. Free from the burden of unjust allegations, Eva emerged as a living testament to the potency of perseverance against odds seemingly insurmountable. As the penthouse emptied, guests filtering out into the balmy evening, Eva allowed herself a moment of reflective serenity. Her silhouette framed against the skyscraper's sweeping glass, she gazed beyond the glittering skyline before her path forward, one she would now tread with determination and dignity reinstated. Outside, the lights of the city beckoned, each gleaming window a reminder of opportunities once missed, now open and calling. Eva stepped into the night, her departure not the escape of a woman wrongfully accused, but the dignified exit of a woman whose tenacity had recentered her within a world often indifferent to its overlooked steadfast souls. Her head held high, Eva left behind the torchlit halls and conversations now steeped in newfound admiration for her resolute bravery. The city seemed alive in its admiration, echoing the fairy tale justice she had penned herself. No longer the invisible worker, Eva walked away not just from vindication, but towards recognition and respect, a sunlit dawn in the fabric of her life's own emerging tapestries. As she moved through the night, she grasped the lessons forged in the crucible of fire, her image now refracted in the countless stories she had inspired that evening, preparing for a future where integrity reigned and resilience marked her path forward. Eva Mitchell knew this was more than just victory, it was the essence of her new beginning. Her footsteps echoed once more against the city's pavement, sure and strong, as only those of a truly liberated soul can. And the world around her, having paused to acknowledge the chapter she had faithfully rewritten, continued its story, renewed by the power justice lent through truth and the enduring light it uncovers.